guys, and welcome to today's video where I'm finally building Lyra's new tank. Now you may remember a few weeks back I got this vivarium from Viperia. It's a company that makes custom PVC tanks here in the UK. Very well made, nice thick glass door, very sleek design. Very nice. I am an affiliate, so I will leave a link below if you're interested, but genuinely I really like these tanks. Anyway, I began building this tank using obviously expanding foam and cork. With this tank I didn't film a lot of this process just because I do it so many times in every other one of my builds, so check out that playlist if you want to see this whole process. But I wanted to cover 3 of the walls completely. Now, one thing I did do, you might have noticed at the beginning there, is I had covered the ventilation at the back with brown tape. This is just so when I was putting expanding foam down, it didn't just shoot through those holes. Once I used the expanding foam, I did of course go along and carve it down. I then used silicone sealant and cocoa fibre to cover it. I will leave links to items I use in the description below. I did choose to use brown silicone sealant since the expanding foam was white, and I really wanted to cover that. If the dirt comes off, then at least we still get a bit of the brown silicone sealant. Anyway, once all the sides were done, I then went around the bottom of the tank and up the sides with silicone sealant and spread it with my finger. If you're building a bioactive setup in a wooden vivarium or a PVC vivarium, you're going to want to do this to make it watertight. Alternatively, when putting together this tank, where the pieces slot together, you can actually add silicone sealant in there, so once it's put together you can't even see the sealant. Personally for me, I really didn't care because this was going to get covered by drainage layer and soil. Anyway, over to me deconstructing Lyra's old tank and planting up her new one. I've put Lyra's coconut in there. Obviously she's lived in her previous home for so long, I just wanted to make sure there's going to be stuff that she can smell herself on. I'm also going to be adding in some of her current dirt that has her cleanup crew in here as well. So what I'm going to do this evening is put in the drainage, the dirt, some of the dirt, and the plants. Okay, so this is all I'm doing tonight, and then tomorrow I'll move Lyra, dirt and custodians in. So this will be a lot fuller, a lot more active and a lot better. Now this does look quite sparse. That is because I have learned over the years not to fill your tank up with plants when you first plant it. Sure, it looks good. It would look far better than this does if I had loads of different plants and loads of different colours and everything was full. But in my experience, you soon realise that some plants are just going to die off. Some are going to get tall and grow and they just don't have enough room now because you filled it up. So I wanted to keep a few plants. I've never tried this one in a terrarium, so that'll be interesting. Pothos, obviously, like if you want an easy plant, use a pothos. Snake plant's always an absolute win for a crested gecko. A humid environment isn't the best for a snake plant, to be honest with you. But crested geckos absolutely love to sleep on them, and they will grow tall, so there's room for them to grow, and I think that's key when you're putting together your tank. Don't feel like you have to fill it, even though it might look better on social media and stuff for a full tank, but we're making a space for it to grow. Now, one big mistake I made in Drogo's tank, and I'm actually going to replace his plants in there, I'm going to do a whole overhaul in there. One mistake I made, which you could probably tell by this being so dark and this being so light, is I thought I'm going to keep it simple. I just have like one umbrella tree and I had something over here. Umbrella tree is massive. It is actually so big it just gets frazzled on top and it produces new leaves and they can't go anywhere. So this whole thing's coming out. I'm going to see if I can try to save it outside the tank, but it blocks out so much light over here. This has come all the way from the other side of the plant. It's too big. So it's been a few days and today I'm starting the move. I'm going to move Lyra out first just so she doesn't have to see her tank get deconstructed. And then I'm going to start moving most of the substrate in here into the new tank. I don't know about anyone else, but I feel so bad digging this up because obviously this tank's been established for so long that everything's just been peaceful and harmonious, and now I'm in here like cutting down the plants and trying to move out all the isopods. But what's crazy is these pothos roots. They've completely intertwined with the drainage layer, so dirt's fallen down there as well. But they're crazy. There's going to be isopods in the drainage layer as well. Like, I am trying to make sure not one is left behind. We're going to put as many as we can in Lyra's new tank, although that is getting very full, and I'm going to put a load in Drogo's tank. The crazy thing about this pothos is it's gone underneath this hide and it's now tried to grow through it, but it's failed. But it's so strongly anchored in it. Now, whilst we can see a lot of this tank, I want to show you what I did wrong when I first built this. So first of all, it might be obvious, but I did not carve a lot of the expanding foam. It's completely round. And then what I did with that is I put silicone on. And I can't remember if I smeared it in. Some of the parts I didn't, but when it's this smooth and it hasn't been carved, the silicone kind of comes off. As you can see, this is pretty much just the expanding foam. I also put in a lot of moss at the beginning, which looked nice and green, but very quickly just went this colour. But yeah, like, this tank's done so well for so long, but obviously it's not the prettiest. One thing I've discovered whilst going through the dirt is lots of old eggs. So whenever Lyra would suddenly drop 3 or 6 grams, I'm like, she's either laid 1 or 2 eggs somewhere in the enclosure. These are obviously very old ones, and this is a newish one. She's never been bred with, so they will be infertile, although I have heard of crested geckos producing clones of themselves, so I always secretly hope that happens. That'd be really cool. But yeah, lots of eggs. Right, the next thing I'm doing is giving this a good water, because a lot of the new substrate I added in is very dry. So we don't want that to affect the plants, affect the cleanup crew. So I'm giving this like the biggest water. I always feel like the initial water is pretty hefty in a tank. Probably a little more than they need, and definitely more than they need on a regular basis. But it's just to get it kind of established, just because that substrate was so dry. Then I'm going to add in a leaf litter. And I'm just going to add in this food for the isopods. So I'm just using Omnigold. I have some left over because of my skink. So I'm putting it in here because although they will obviously eat Lyra's poop and the leaves, we don't want them attacking the plants, so giving them food is just a nice boost for them. That is in one of our isopod bowls that we sell at the Bearded Shrimp. She had her last home for so long, I feel kind of bad giving her a new home. I know it sounds silly, but it's just like so new to her. But I'm hoping she likes it. Now, if you do give your gecko a new home and suddenly you realise, oh, they're skittish or they're running away more, they don't want to be handled, I honestly think that's just the stress of moving. I mean, there's no way around it. The only thing we can do to make it a bit easier for them is, as I've done here, move in some of their old substrate. If you've got a decent old plant you can move in that smells like them, great. But it is all new. Oh, she's got her old coconut. That must be a comfort, but I hope she likes it. She's just staying on my hand for now. Now, as I said, this is the Viperia Vivarium. This is 60 by 45 by 60. They do various sizes. They even do custom sizes. I've really liked building in it. I like the fact that it can be cleared all the way around. It feels a lot more enclosed and kind of smaller, just visually, just because it's not glass everywhere. But it fits into my room really well. I think it looks a lot smarter than the glass tanks. The problem with the glass tanks is you get a lot of watermarks, or at least I do, and they end up looking really ugly. So if I step back, you can see it a lot better. I think it looks so cool. It looks, because it's black when you walk into the room, So you can't even see in it and you're like, what's this? And then boom, you're presented with it, and it's so cool. And obviously I have the custom reptile habitat tanks, and we have our own kit with them, so I'll leave their link below as well. That's in the US, this is the UK. But they all kind of fit together really nicely, and it just makes this room look so smart. And I'd love to eventually have all the tanks looking like this. But yeah, I'm going to leave Lyra to settle in now. I will be doing a video on Drogo's tank, as I'm going to take that apart and just revamp it. But I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.